Hey guys, it is Miss Sim Reno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you're brand new, I am very excited that you decided to join me here today for another speed build. And we are back in Henford on Bagley building another cottage because I was missing Henford on Bagley, which is weird to say considering that we got this pack, I think a month ago? Has it already been a month? I literally can't even remember when we got this pack, but it feels like it's still very new. Like it feels very new for me, and I don't like leaving Henford on Bagley very much. I'm not really enjoying leaving the world itself. I really, really love this world. I think it's so pretty. I love building here, and I really like building cottages. I can't even lie, but I do want them all to look unique. I don't want them to all look the same. So you can kind of see here, I'm doing that little roof trick with the half walls, which I was also very excited about because I was trying to do that with one of my other cottages and I didn't do it very well and I kind of abandoned the idea, but I figured it out here. However, I want them all to look unique. So what I end up doing, though I have the two dormer windows right here, I end up changing it over to one single dormer in the center of the build, which you guys probably already saw on the thumbnail, because I just thought that it made it look a little bit more unique, a little bit different from another cottage that I've already done. But I am kind of struggling to come up with different shapes, I think, for cottages because a lot of them are the same shape. I don't know, it's hard for me to come up with different ideas that I think look nice and authentic to the build style. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's how I feel. So it's kind of a struggle for me to come up with different styles and like different ways to design cottages. So I hope that they all look reasonably different and don't look silly. That's my thought. Like I don't want them to look silly, but this one's actually a fairly decent size, I would say. It's not as big as the family cottage that I did weeks ago, but it is a 2-bedroom and I think a 2-bathroom, which is still a decent size considering how awkward the second story kind of is, even with the larger dormer that I end up using and some of the awkward jutting out pieces that you can see I'm adding here. But the shape is pretty much coming together at this point. I do change up the roof shape a little bit. I wanted to make it a little bit more curved like I did with the cute cottage, which was my first build with the Cottage Living expansion pack. So I did that for those smaller roof pieces, and I think when I make the single dormer, I also do that with the roof. So I really just copy and paste those roof pieces. But I have noticed that if you curve the roof, you can't put those roof decorations on that kind of line the top. They don't fit correctly and sometimes they look a little bit odd. It really depends on the angle, so that's something that I was playing around with, but I ended up just keeping the main roof piece pretty straight and everything else has a little bit of a curve. Now here I was trying to create my own kind of climbing plants, I suppose, and I wanted them to be red because I used the red swatch of a lot of these build assets, and I thought that would be kind of nice. I was also going to try to use these climbing flowers from Jungle Adventure, but I ended up not really liking how everything was looking. Now, I've made my own climbing plants before, I think on my lavender farm, and it was a smaller bush, which I think is why it worked, but the others that I was trying to use were way too bulky. So I ended up actually using the wisteria on the outside of this build, and that's my first time using the wisteria because this is why, as you guys probably know, you've either seen it in your own game or maybe you've seen other builders or heard other builders talk about it, but it actually shows up on the inside of builds. Like when you put it on the wall, there are little leaves that clip on the inside of a build. That drove me insane. I was able to cover up most of them because it wasn't like the whole thing was protruding into the inside, but it was noticeable. And I just felt as though when I was looking at pictures of wisteria, I felt as though these pieces should be a lot bigger and more plentiful. Does that make any sense? Like that was kind of my thought process, is that it just didn't look like true wisteria. I think it came out pretty nicely, but overall I've been hesitant to use it, but I finally did. And now we're working on the landscaping where I did use a few different debug plants, specifically some bushes from Snowy Escape, which I thought looked really, really nice, as well as these rose bushes from the Cottage Living debug menu and some base game flowers as well. I just tried to make everything kind of match and flow nicely. I didn't want my landscaping to be too overwhelming on this build just because I really didn't have the space on the lot if I wanted to add a few more things, but I thought it came out nicely and it was actually fairly simplistic compared to a lot of my landscaping. Also off camera, I did add a small pond. I was kind of testing out if I wanted a pond on this lot, but I'm like really obsessed with ponds at this point in The Sims now that we officially have the tool. So I have been adding them to most, if not all, of my Henford on Bagley builds, at least. A lot of my cottage builds. And I'm so excited. I shared a little ambiance snippet over on Twitter, I think last week, and my members here on the channel have seen tons of behind the scenes screenshots over on the community tab, but I made a little bayou, and I'm very excited to share that build with you because I used the pond tool to actually make it, and I am ecstatic. Like, I thought it came out so nicely. I have been reading Where the Crawdads Sing, and that's what inspired me to build a little bayou shack. Even though the book is set in North Carolina, I'm talking about a bayou maybe in like Louisiana or something like that, but either way, I am very excited for you to see it. I am ecstatic. I am so proud of that build because I think it's, I don't know, I think it's one of my best works, honestly, which is weird because it's not anything super extravagant, but I'm just very ecstatic for it. So I can't wait for you guys to see it. But we are working on wrapping up the landscaping, kind of adding some details to the pond. I add some lilies and some ducks as well. I didn't want to add much else. I probably could have added, I could have added a fishing sign, like the pre-stocked fish for the pond, because then your Sims would be able to actually fish here. So you guys can definitely add that if you would like to, because that's something that I completely blanked on. But it is a small enough pond. It's not too overwhelming. There aren't really that many outdoor activities on this lot, just because I did add a pond. You could probably add like a few gardening plots. There's no animals on this lot either. I wasn't thinking that this family did a lot of farming or anything like that. I don't think they have their own chickens. They don't have any llamas or cows. They just love living out in the countryside. Maybe they are pretty outdoorsy, but they really just enjoy the outdoors compared to actually doing activities outdoors. I don't know, but we're on the interior working out the floor plan, and it was really hard for me to figure out this floor plan. I think I've struggled with that in almost every cottage that I've done, but this one was really difficult because I just wanted there to be ample space for everything, and I wanted it to flow. I think the real challenge was the staircase, but I ended up finding something that I think works really nicely. There's ample space for every room for all these different activities, and I think it flows really nicely as well. So you can see here we're starting off in the living room, which is basically one of those jutting out pieces to the left hand side when you're looking at the build face on. And I was trying to use a different swatch of some of the things that we got with this pack. So I used the blue swatches for the furniture and the rugs and all of those things because I've used, I think maybe some of the blue ones, but mixed with a ton of different packs, so it wasn't a strong color scheme, but I've used the red. I made an entire cottage that was basically all red, which was a bit misleading with this one because the entire exterior is red, but the inside is not. I haven't used a lot of the green swatches or some of even the darker ones. I think I've used the black swatch at one point. I haven't used the dark teal though. I really like the dark teal and I haven't used that yet, but I thought that this soft blue was really nice, so I don't know, I'm trying to use all the different swatches and kind of come up with different color combinations and things like that. But this one was cool because it was the light blue, I think the greens, and there was a mixture of white and, I don't know, like cream colored woods as well. It's kind of interesting. I've talked about it before where I don't often like to mix a bunch of different wood swatches, but every now and then it works really nicely, and I absolutely love how things turn out. So this is one of those moments because I use a ton of different wood swatches as well. But you can see that the living room is coming together. They have this beautiful fireplace from the pack, and everything just came together really smoothly. I am obsessed with this fireplace too, as you guys have probably noticed. I use it all the time. Oh, and here I'm trying to make a little cat bed. I believe I saw, I think it was Schnuck. I think it was Schnuck or Julia Builds or Simstopia. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to look it up. I saw someone share a screenshot or even like a small video snippet of a cat jumping into the cat bed in this basket sized up. Now, I don't know if I did it right, but I thought it looked really cute. I'm really gonna have to find the screenshot or video or something that I saw so I can properly credit, but I believe it was one of those 3 Sims creators. So please forgive me if I got it wrong or if I completely forgot, if I added someone in there that that is not responsible for it. I just cannot remember for the life of me. I just thought it was a really cute idea, so I did add it there. And now we are working on the kitchen, where I did start using these blue countertops, but the cabinets have the pink curtain. I can't stand the pink curtain. It's so cutesy. It just wasn't the look I was going for, so I changed the overhead cabinets to the white swatch with the yellow curtains because there was at least more yellow in this build than there was pink. So I thought it worked a little bit nicer, and then I do switch over everything again to the green because I thought that the green, of course, matched with the green and blue theme I was going for, and it worked. So everything matched, everything was good. I tried to use this Country Kitchen kit. Oh my gosh, I was going to say counter. It's not a counter, it's a shelf. I was trying to use that shelf as well over this window because it was a little bit awkward to just add a ton of cabinets. So I added just curtains instead. It worked out perfectly fine. And then I just add some clutter around the kitchen. It's not super, super cluttered. I really tried to seclude a lot of the clutter to one corner because I'm trying to be cognizant of keeping 2 countertops at a minimum open so your Sims and their kids can cook together. And actually not just your Sims and their kids, but really just multiple Sims to cook together, because I experienced that for the first time when I was doing my cottage living Let's Play, and it was adorable. I can only imagine that with kids, it's going to be 10 times cuter. Also, on that note, my cottage living Let's Play, I am not abandoning this. I am not doing it. I'm not abandoning it. But as most of you probably know at this point, I think there's going to be another freaking voiceover that I talk about this because I'm recording things out of order. I'm just doing voiceovers compared to new builds and stuff like that. So anyway, I am currently out of commission. I have PT for 4 weeks, suspected tennis elbow / tendonitis because of overuse. Don't overuse your arm. Don't build for 6+ hours a day, every day for months, because this could happen to you. So that is my spiel. I'm lecturing there. Anyway, so I am not going to be abandoning my cottage living Let's Play. I just currently am not recording it because I'm trying to give my arm, hand, wrist, everything the full 4 weeks to just chill. The only games that I can kind of play without any discomfort are games where I'm barely using my arm, and that is something like Phasmophobia. I play once a week for a couple of hours. I take breaks, and it barely impacts my hand because I'm not even really doing anything with the mouse aside from just moving it around ever so slightly. So that's kind of nice. But basically anything that causes me discomfort, I need to not do during this time because I want to give my arm and everything a chance to heal appropriately so this doesn't happen again. Anyway, that was my spiel because my cottage living LP is currently on the back burner, but it is not being abandoned. When I am cleared and feeling ready to go, that is going to continue, but I do apologize that there's going to be a gap because I can't do anything at the moment. But you can see here that the dining room came together very quickly. There's also that breakfast table kind of on the other side of the archway from the kitchen. I have been doing that so much lately where I'm adding breakfast tables and then a formal dining room, I guess is what we'll call it. I've been loving doing that because it's something that I had in my house, which I know not everyone does, but we had an island. We had an island in the middle of my kitchen, so we had some bar stools, and that's where I would informally eat breakfast and things like that. But then for big family meals, we had the formal dining room. So I always try to do that in my builds, especially the cottage ones, because I feel like they can be cramped as is, so it's kind of nice to be able to have that extra room. Downstairs is going to be a half bathroom, whereas upstairs is the only full bathroom. It's nice to have the extra toilet, but I didn't want to overcrowd the space with a shower or tub or anything, so it is only a half bath, but I do really like it. I ended up using the same sink from the kitchen, which I don't always do. I'm trying to think if I do that, if I take the kitchen from if I take the sink from the kitchen and use it in the bathroom. You can also tell I haven't done voiceovers in a while because this one's horrendous, but anyway, we're moving on to the second floor where there are the 2 bedrooms and then the full bathroom like I mentioned earlier. So this is going to be the master bedroom with those little tiny square windows, and then there is a decent sized landing space. I couldn't make it too much smaller without it being too cramped, but this is a decent sized master bedroom at least. Now I wanted to try this trick. I believe this was Schnuck that I saw this from, okay? I believe that is where I saw it. So those are kind of like signs, I'd say, from Cats and Dogs. And what you can do is you can use the tool mod to lower them, and they kind of just give you a new head and footboard. I thought that was ingenious, but I was building on the 2nd story, which means they were poking out of the ceiling downstairs. So you can't really do it on the 2nd floor, but if this was a 1st floor bedroom where there was nothing underneath it, I could probably do it. I thought that was a really, really cool idea. So I want to tip my hat because that's amazing and so creative, and I never would have thought of that on my own. But the master bedroom is pretty much together at this point, and then I dive into the 2nd bedroom, which is so awkwardly shaped. I was going to make it an office, and I was like, man, I've been making offices a lot. And for a house this big, there had to at least be a second bedroom, you know? I just really didn't feel right making it an office. I tried out a few different beds. I was not liking anything, so I ended up completing the bathroom first. You'll see me kind of play around with a few things here, and then I just move on. And I'm like, all right, I can at least easily do the bathroom. And I was also trying to do this quickly because at the time my hand was bothering me. So I was trying to make the best use of my time. Whereas if I didn't have like an idea for that room, I was just going to move on to another place so I could get something done. And then I move on to this little landing space where I was going to put a desk, but it was too big, too bulky. So I just added this little 2-seater from Cats and Dogs in the same beautiful blue color as all the other stuff. And there's an easel here, so there's at least an activity on this landing space, which there really aren't too many activities in this build I'm noticing, so I kind of apologize for that because often I will add a handful of activities to my builds, especially when there are kids involved, but I didn't really have the space and I actually kept this build fairly simplistic, I feel. So this is going to be the kids' room. Now this could of course be for any child you would like. I just went with a purple and white theme. There's also some pinks in there as well because a lot of the objects we have in game that are purple are paired with pink as well in the swatches. So it worked out pretty nicely despite the awkward shape. It felt like a very lived in, cozy bedroom in my opinion. It was a little bit cluttered near that door just because everything's kind of cramped over there, but it works. That's all that really matters, I suppose, is that my sim could get to the bed. Everything worked for them. It wasn't an issue. And I made it, I think, pretty lived in considering the space. So hopefully you guys enjoy it as well. There's also some yellows in this room too. I mean, I think kids' rooms end up being multi-colorful. Is that a word? They're usually very multicolored and they're usually very colorful. I'll separate the two. So I thought it was kind of appropriate, and I liked adding these floating shelves with a few more decorations as well over the bed instead of adding like tons of posters and things like that. But all in all, I thought it came out pretty cute. And then we end up moving on to the porch. Now, I'm very excited about the porch because I tried to do something, and I'm going to start explaining it now, so when it comes on screen it makes sense. So I took the basically decorative shelf that we got with Cottage Living. It looks like a little gardening shelf or a canning shelf or something, and maybe it belongs in like a shed, whatever the case is. And what I tried to do is I tried to size down a flower arranging table, and then I tried to lower it ever so slightly with tulle to make it clickable and accessible. Now, I completely forgot to play test it, so I'm going to have to do that, or you guys can tell me, so I apologize, but hopefully it works. And then I just added another outdoor table almost identical to the breakfast table on the interior with the same chairs from the Paranormal Stuff Pack. I thought it looked so antique and just so lovely. I also added a ton of hanging plants, but I just didn't like how they were looking, so I only kept a few, and then I just add a few more details around the porch, and that is pretty much it for the build. So I hope you guys did enjoy this. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts, and I will catch you next time I post a video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!
Oh my love, you're such a fragile thing, I know. And with the winter comes the ice, the snow, but I'm here to hold. And oh my love, don't worry about the cold just yet. The trees haven't started to shed. Just feel the summer sun as it warms our bed. I'm lying, and I'm lying when I say but I'm trying to shelter you from pain. And oh my love, The seasons come and they go, but I hope